In the far reaches of the Orion Arm, where stars burned with cold indifference, the Galactic King Zorth ruled from his obsidian throne on the planet Kravos. His empire, a sprawling network of conquered worlds, thrived on fear and submission. Zorth, a towering figure with skin like molten silver and eyes that glowed like twin supernovas, was not a king who tolerated defiance. His latest conquest was Earth, a backwater planet rich in resources but stubborn in spirit. Most humans had bent the knee, but whispers of resistance persisted in the dense forests of Eastern Europe, where old magic lingered like mist. Zorth's scouts had reported a small village nestled in the Carpathian Mountains that refused to pay tribute. The villagers, they said, were led by a woman of unnatural power, a figure cloaked in legend. Zorth dismissed the tales as primitive superstition. Magic was a myth, a story told by lesser beings to comfort themselves against his dominion. To crush this defiance, he devised a plan to strike at the village's heart, its children. If the adults would not yield, their young would pay the price, a lesson in obedience etched in blood. Under the cover of a moonless night, Zorth's elite guard, clad in shimmering exosuits that bent light around them, descended on the village. Their target was a small schoolhouse where the children gathered for evening lessons, a tradition rooted in the old ways. The guards moved like shadows, silent and precise, their weapons humming with plasma. They seized 5 children, ages 7 to 12, binding their wrists with energy cuffs and herding them toward a sleek transport ship hovering just beyond the tree-line. The children's cries were muffled by the wind, their small forms disappearing into the ship's belly as the village slept, unaware. But the village was not unprotected. Deep in the forest, in a hut that stood on chicken legs and swayed as if alive, lived the Baba Yaga. She was no mere legend but force of nature, a being woven from the threads of human fear and reverence. Her face was a map of wrinkles, her eyes like burning coals, and her hands could weave spells that bent reality itself. She was a mother of the stolen children, though none in the village knew it. The Baba Yaga had cloaked her identity, living among them as an eccentric widow named Yelena, tending to her garden and teaching the children folklore. Her magic ensured no one questioned her past, and her children, born of a union with a mortal long dead, carried no trace of her power, only her fierce love. As the transport ship rose into sky, the Baba Yaga felt a pang in her chest, a mother's instinct sharper than any blade. She stepped outside her hut, her shawl falling to reveal a body that was both ancient and ageless. The hut creaked, its legs scratching the earth as it turned to face her. "Find them," she whispered, and the hut obeyed, lurching to the forest with unnatural speed. The trees parted before it, their branches bowing in respect. The Baba Yaga's mind reached out, her magic tracing the ship's path through the stars. She saw her children, frightened but unharmed, locked in a cell aboard Zorth's flagship, the Ecliptic Spear. Zorth, lounging on his throne, received a report of the successful raid. "Let the humans see their future," he said, his voice a low rumble that echoed through the ship's command chamber. "Parade the children on Kravos. Show them their place." His advisors, a council of sycophantic aliens with elongated limbs and bioluminescent skin, nodded eagerly. They did not notice the flicker of unease in the air, a subtle shift like the first tremor of an earthquake. The Baba Yaga did not waste time on grief or rage. She was not a creature of emotion, but of action. She returned to her hut, where shelves groaned under the weight of ancient tomes and jars filled with glowing herbs. From a hidden compartment, she retrieved a staff carved from the bone of a long-dead star serpent, its tip pulsing with a light that could pierce dimensions. She chanted in a language older than the stars, her voice weaving a spell that tore a rift in the fabric of space. The hut shuddered, then vanished, reappearing in the void near Kravos, cloaked by her magic from Zorth's sensors. On Kravos, the children were marched to the capital streets, a spectacle for the masses. The planet's inhabitants, enslaved species from across the galaxy, watched in silence, their eyes hollow with despair. The children, though terrified, held their heads high, their mother's strength in their blood. The eldest, a girl named Mila, whispered to her siblings, "She'll come for us. She always does." They clung to her words, unaware of the storm brewing in their mother's heart. The Baba Yaga infiltrated the Ecliptic Spear, her presence a shadow that slipped past guards and drones. Her magic disrupted their technology, turning cameras blind and alarms mute. She found the cell where her children were held, their faces lighting up as they saw her. "Mama?" Mila whispered, her voice trembling. The Baba Yaga's eyes softened, but her voice was iron. "Stay quiet, my loves. We leave soon." With a wave of her staff, the energy cuffs dissolved, and the cell door crumbled to dust. But Zorth was no fool. His throne room was lined with sensors attuned to anomalies, and the Baba Yaga's magic, though subtle, triggered an alert. Alarms blared, and the ship's corridors filled with soldiers. Zorth himself descended to confront the intruder, his armor glowing with the power of a dying star. "Who dares defy me?" he roared, his voice shaking the walls. The Baba Yaga stepped into the throne room, her hut looming behind her like a sentinel. "You took my children," she said, her voice calm but laced with menace. "Return them, and you may yet live." Zorth laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "A human witch? Your kind is nothing to me." He raised a hand, and a beam of plasma shot toward her, hot enough to melt steel. The Baba Yaga did not flinch. Her staff glowed, and the beam curved around her, striking the wall in a shower of sparks. She moved faster than thought, her body a blur as she closed the distance to Zorth. Her magic surged, a wave of raw power that shattered his armor and sent him crashing to the floor. The council screamed, fleeing as the throne room became a battlefield. Zorth rose, his eyes blazing with fury. "You cannot defeat a god!" he snarled, summoning a blade of pure energy. The battle was cataclysmic. The Baba Yaga spells clashed with Zorth's technology, each blow shaking the ship. She conjured vines of shadow that bound his limbs, only for him to break free with bursts of plasma. He struck her with a force that would have killed a mortal, but she absorbed it, her body reforming like smoke. The children, hidden in the hut, watched through a window, their hearts pounding. Mila clutched her younger brother's hand, whispering, "She's stronger than him." The Baba Yaga's true power lay not in destruction, but in creation. She wove a spell that reached into Zorth's mind, pulling forth his deepest fears. He saw his empire crumbling, his subjects rising against him, his throne reduced to ash. He staggered, his confidence shaken. "What are you?" he gasped. "I am the mother you should not have crossed," she said. With a final incantation, she trapped him in a cage of starlight, its bars unbreakable even by his strength. The ship's crew, sensing their king's defeat, surrendered. The Baba Yaga freed her children, embracing them as a hut carried them back to Earth. The village rejoiced at the children's return, unaware of the cosmic battle that had secured their safety. The Baba Yaga resumed her guise as Yelena, her hut settling back into the forest. But the legend of her power spread, a warning to any who would threaten her kin. Zorth, imprisoned on his own ship, was left to ponder his mistake. He had attacked human children, not knowing their mother was the Baba Yaga, a force beyond even a Galactic king's reckoning. Years later, Mila, now grown, would tell the story to her own children, her voice soft but firm. "Never underestimate the old ways," she'd say, glancing at the forest where the hut still stood, its legs rooted in the earth, waiting for the next call to battle.